Hello and welcome to the Fuel Run Recover podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Natchuk, registered dietitian, running coach, marathon runner, and mom. This season, we're breaking down running's biggest trends, hot topics, and myths, and turning them into practical nutrition and training advice you can actually use every day. Let's get into it. Hey runners, before we get into today's episode, I want to ask you a quick question. Have you ever wondered if your nutrition is actually helping your running, or is it actually holding you back? If you want to find out, I've created a brand new free resource just for you. It's called the Runner's Fueling Audit. It's a super quick checklist that's going to help you spot the signs of underfueling, low energy availability, or where the gaps in your nutrition might be that are impacting your recovery and actually slowing you down. It only takes a few minutes to go through, and by the end, you're going to know whether or not your fueling is on the right track, or if you really need to start making some changes to the way you approach your eating so you can start to feel stronger on every run, reduce your injury risk, and actually get the results that you're training so hard for. You can grab your free copy right now by clicking on the link in the show notes. Again, this is called the Runner's Fueling Audit. It's a free downloadable resource, and it's going to give you so much clarity on how you can start feeling smarter and running stronger. All right, let's dive into today's episode. All right. Hello. Welcome to this week's episode of the Fuel Run Recover podcast. We are going to be keeping it a little bit short and sweet this week. I say that sometimes, and then I feel like I end up going on, and it's still a 30-minute episode regardless. So I don't know. We'll see when we get to the end how long I've talked about this subject for. It's a pretty straightforward episode I have for you today, though, talking about the transition to cupless races, or races that are no longer going to be providing disposable cups at aid stations for water, Gatorade, whatever. Paris, the 2026 Paris Marathon, which is coming up very soon. This is a major marathon, obviously, and a huge event coming up that has made this change. So they announced it back in the fall that they were going to be no longer having disposable cups available at aid stations on the race course. So what Paris is doing is they are going to be offering participants a reusable cup that they can carry with them and then have refilled at the aid stations. I imagine it's probably like a silicone, like a collapsible sort of squishy thing that you can easily put in a pocket. I don't know that for sure, though. Other races might follow suit, and I'm sure there are many who are going to be or maybe already have, but Paris was sort of like the big one that I've been hearing about and seeing some conversations about it online. Other races might not provide, a disposable or a reusable option for runners and require participants to basically supply their own. And it was interesting because when I first heard about this, my immediate reaction was like, great, cool. Like it didn't affect me personally. And maybe I'm like a little bit of a trendsetter here because I've, for many, many years, actually always brought my own handheld bottle with me on the race course for the purpose of getting it refilled from the aid stations I go. And so I wanted to record this episode because that often comes up in client conversations I have. People are often surprised to hear that that's something that you can even do. Like I'll have a lot of clients say, oh, like I didn't know that they would like fill a bottle for you. Well, of course, right? Like they've got their big jugs there and, they'll be often pouring water out of some kind of like larger thing. And if I just show up, oh, can you fill this for me? Yeah, no problem. It's never been an issue. And so I've always brought my own handheld, and there's actually a pretty long list of reasons why. When I started like actually writing out the reasons why I personally like this system for myself and why it seems to work really well for me, I had 5 reasons, which I thought was like a long list. So the first reason that I personally do this already is because I like to drink when I want. So like I don't want to have to necessarily wait for the next aid station to get water. Now, what I will say in my experience over the 15 years or so that I've been racing, I feel like there are a lot more aid stations on race courses than there used to be. And I don't know if I am right or wrong about that. I have no idea. But maybe as races have gotten bigger, they've added more aid stations to reduce like crowding at some of them. Again, I don't know. This would be a great question. I should interview a race director and ask all these questions. But anyway, I feel like it used to be that there was like several miles potentially in between aid stations. And so for me to have to like wait and go that long, if I feel thirsty now, I want to drink now. So I like just having something that I can sort of sip on and not have to wait until the next aid station to drink water. Especially because, like, the race that I have run most often in my life is our local Manitoba marathon here. It's in June. Like, it is hot. It is a notoriously hot marathon. Even we're running early in the morning, of course, but like it's a hot day. So you do need a lot of hydration compared to maybe some others. Two, I hate drinking out of those little cups. I just hate it. Like, I know you can like you can squish it and like kind of like funnel it a little bit, whatever. I just don't like it. And I know that you're supposed to like practice all of these things leading up so that you're like used to it. But like, when are you practicing that specific skill before you race? I certainly don't. I drink out of a bottle when I'm running. So I drink out of a bottle when I'm racing as well. I just prefer it. I'm coughing, you only get a little, I don't know. I don't like it. I want to just like sip a little bit at a time when I want and just like do my own thing. I also personally, for my fuel and for my electrolytes, my preference most of the time when I'm racing is sport drink mixes. So I will usually do the individual packets, like the single serve sort of packets of like whether Scratch or Tailwind, so some sort of electrolyte like drink mix. Oh, I always like Liquid IV. So I'll bring like the individual packets of those. And then I can basically open up a packet, dump it in my bottle, get my bottle refilled, and then like have a plan for how often I'm going to go through that amount, right? So it's like, for example, when I ran the New York City Marathon back in the fall, for my hydration needs for that day, it was a cooler day. So it wasn't like a super hot race. It was like, I think maybe 13 to 20 degrees. Like it was nice, right? I had a plan of drinking my handheld bottle that I was carrying with me about every hour, which worked out great. So I did one packet of Tailwind every hour, and I just had to get my bottle refilled once an hour. So I can just get my bottle refilled at regular intervals, keep up with my fueling and my electrolyte hydration plan. And it's just simple, right? The only thing I have to carry with me is like the couple extra packets of hydration mix that I need. Now, of course, a lot of runners, and this is, of course, what I would do during training runs, right? You're going to be running, if you're going out for like 2.5, 3.5 hours, you're going to be going out running with like your full hydration pack, right? Like your vest with your bladder, potentially with like maybe 2 or 3 liters of water in that bladder. And so while that works great for training runs where you don't have aid stations set up and you need to bring all of that hydration with you on your training run, on race day, if you don't have to carry that extra weight, then I don't see a reason why you would like carrying that extra weight. I know it's like kind of nice to just have it in your backpack and it doesn't feel that heavy. But I mean, if you're bringing like 3 liters of water on a marathon, which is not an unreasonable amount to need to drink during a marathon, if you're bringing 3 liters of water, like that's going to be 3 kilograms, like that's over 5 extra pounds of weight that now you're carrying with you, right? The other thing is that the water gets really hot and really gross, getting all like churned around and it's like absorbing all your body heat from your back. Like the water is in that thing is not pleasant. And like, yes, on a training run, you can deal with it. Put some ice in there, whatever, but like it's not going to stay ice for very long and the water gets hot and gross. I also find, like, for me personally, and I don't know if this resonates with anybody listening, if this sounds like you, but I also am much better at drinking enough when I have a visual kind of guide to how much I need to be drinking. So for me, it's like, okay, I've got this handheld bottle. I think my handheld bottle is like about 700 mLs. So it's at like maybe, I don't know, 26 ounces perhaps. So if I've got this handheld bottle and I know that I have a plan that I have to finish that bottle every hour for like my fueling and my hydration to be correct, it's very easy for me to visually see like, okay, I need to have this done in an hour. So like at 30 minutes, I should be half done, right? Like it's that visual cue for me to drink and drink enough. I find that even if I really try to like drink every mile or so, because I often will advise clients, like you want to use kind of every mile marker as your trigger. Oh yeah, okay, like have a sip. And same thing if we're going in kilometers, like every kilometer, make sure that you're having like a couple sips of fluids every kilometer. But what I find is that when I can't see how much I'm drinking, I think I'm drinking a lot. Like I think I'm doing a great job of hydrating and I'm like, totally crushing it out there. And then every single time I get to the end of my run and I pull my bladder out of my pack, it's like, oh, this thing is like barely half gone. And so I just like, I am much better at maintaining my hydration when I can see how much I'm drinking. So, Yeah. So, I mean, and this might not be the case for everyone. You might have no problem wanting to like carry your hydration pack with you, or, if you're running in colder weather and it's not getting as hot, then that's fine. But this was just my list of why it worked for me. So, because I've always raced this way and like really prefer my system to all the other ways that I've tried it over the years, I was really surprised. I was sort of taken aback when the vast majority of the comments that I was seeing around this change that Paris was making, um, was people saying how like dumb this was and how they like didn't agree and whatever. So I was really shocked to see that, because I was kind of like, well, yeah, of course, like this is a great idea. Like everybody like get on my level over here, right? I really expected that people were going to be in full agreement that the disposable cups are wasteful and unnecessary. And like in this year of 2026, with our knowledge around garbage accumulation and the waste from these single-use products and stuff, that we would just like know that we can find a better solution. But it wasn't really what I was seeing out there. And I know that like with this kind of stuff, internet comments, whatever, it's always like the vocal minority that tends to, really speak out. And maybe most people are in agreement that this isn't necessary. But, you know, even, I mean, the biggest marathon I've ever run is New York, which fair, it's the biggest marathon in the world. So like fair enough. But like you're talking about 50 or 60,000 people that are out there running. When you have tens of thousands of runners on the same streets in the same few hour span, like even with trash cans on the course, even with an absolute army of volunteers and people manning those aid stations, like the aid stations were just the layer of wet, crushed, slippery cups and gel packs and all that stuff everywhere. Like it was actually insane. The thick layer of garbage, and how treacherous it became to like be running through those as the race went on. And so you really had to like slow down, be careful, watch your footing as you got more fatigued as the race went on and as the garbage piled up. Like, yeah, if you're in the first wave and nobody's ahead of you, like you're going to see clean, clear streets and you're not going to think it's a problem. But for those of us that are at the back, like it's pretty awful to see, and it looks bad, right? Like you've got photos and stuff. Like I've got a few photos that I'm like, I don't even want to post this picture, because like all you can see is this like mountain of garbage on the street behind. And I know that like the argument that a lot of people were making here was that, well, it's part of the registration fee. Like I'm paying for this race to like have all of these services provided and like all of this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, it really should give us pause to think about the sheer volume of garbage. Like just because there's people there to clean it up doesn't mean that that's like a good thing. I also was trying to find out information about like the cost. Like how much do you think some of these races spend on these cups? Like when I was looking for, I couldn't find an exact cost, but like there's estimates that, some of these major marathons are going through 150,000 cups in one of these races, 150,000 extra pieces of garbage that could be eliminated if people just use something refillable instead, right? And I couldn't find the exact cost of like what a race would spend getting cups, but like, that money could be spent elsewhere, right? It's just not a necessity. Spend more money on toilet paper. I don't know. And like most runners should be hydrating during training, and like getting, it's not quite the same. I know you're not like running at goal pace all the time during your training runs, but if you can like practice getting out a gel, taking a gel, opening those, like all of that stuff during your training runs, surely you can like practice and get competent at opening up a collapsible cup or a bottle and getting it filled, right? Like I know change is always hard and it's like difficult to always start doing things differently than you've done it before, but like we can learn a new skill. Like we can do this, right? I believe in all of us. And you've got a pocket somewhere for your gels. I'm sure you've got a pocket somewhere that you can put your cup in between, stopping at aid stations, that sort of thing. It's fine. I promise you it's fine. But I also wanted to provide some suggestions and kind of talk about like the practicality of incorporating this if you have a race coming up, which I'm suspecting that a lot of us will in the coming months and years, kind of setting this precedent with the Paris Marathon. And I'm sure they're not the first. Like I'm certain that they are not the first race to go, sort of paper free in that way. So please let me know if you regularly run a race that has done this. You can find me on Instagram and send me a message at Steph the Runner's Dietitian and let me know what that experience was like for you. Or if you're a race organizer and you are part of a race and you guys have gone gotten rid of disposable cups, what that's been like and what the feedback has been. I think it's a net positive for sure. Maybe a little bit of minor inconvenience for people who are unprepared, but what I want to do with this episode is get you prepared and kind of talk you through some of my tips for how to make this easier and how to make it work for you. Of course, the first thing, like all things, you can probably see this coming, practice and training. Finding the right option for how you want to tackle your hydration is going to be important, right? Because the norm is shifted, right? The norm is no longer the norm. So you've got some options, which is kind of nice. You can do a bottle that fits in your hand. So like the bottle that I've been running with, it was a freebie from a race that I did last year, but it's just like the perfect size. It fits so nicely in my hand. I don't get like a crampy hand from holding it like I have with some other like bigger ones. It's like just the right size. It fits a decent amount of fluid. You can also get ones that have like a little Velcro attachment. So like the bottle fits in a little holder and then there's a Velcro thing that goes around your hand. So you're not actually like gripping the bottle. It's kind of just there, but it's right at your fingertips. I also personally like a fairly wide mouth bottle. So a bottle that like the cap is like as wide as it can be, not ones that have like the teeny tiny little cap, just because if you're trying to like pour drink mix into there, that powder as you're running, like you can make a big mess and it's a disaster. Or when they're pouring water in, again, it can be easier to just be more precise with a wider mouth bottle. So that's my preference. Of course, you can also get like a running vest that has the little front bottles, like the little soft flask bottles for the front pockets. I like those as well. Those are a great option. A lot of them will be somewhere like 400, 500 ml. So kind of in that like 14, 16 ounce range for those. Those are nice too. Again, I just found that the ones that I have for my vest have teeny tiny little nozzles, like really small. And I found it very hard to pour my drink mix in there. So if you're doing just water, great. That's not going to be a problem. But for me, I just wanted like a wider mouth because I just figured it would be more convenient. And then have a plan for drinking and refilling your bottle, right? So if your bottle is at 500 ml or like 16 ounce size, knowing going into your race, like how often do I need to drink that much to match my hydration plan? And then what aid stations am I stopping at? Like how often during the race am I stopping at an aid station? Because this is a bit different than like how it kind of works right now, where you usually grab a little cup of water at every aid station, right? Like every time you can just grab a sip and maybe you're hydrated, maybe you're not, but at least you kind of just grab water as you go and stop at each one. But you don't want to get like super behind on your hydration and have that become a problem for you as the race goes on. And then, of course, my best tip is look ahead at your upcoming races and see if they are making changes to this. See what the communication is coming from the race organizers. Are they going to be going cup free? Are they going to be providing something or not? Like, just make sure that you are not surprised when you get to race week. Maybe you get the handbook. Sometimes they don't send out the handbook that far in advance. Don't be surprised race week or race day when suddenly there's no cups at the aid stations. Like, make sure with this change coming to Paris, and as I said, like I suspect that this is going to become more and more common with races, both to save costs and save on waste and save on volunteer hours. You don't want to be caught off guard, and you want to be able to have practiced something different in training so that you can show up to the race and know exactly what you're going to do and not be, caught off guard. So I think I did keep it short and sweet today. I think I did a great job of making this just a quick episode, but I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to give some advice and just put it on your radar that if you haven't heard about this change, that it might be coming down the pipe. And so just, be aware. And if you're running Paris and this is the first time you're hearing of this, then I'm glad I got to be the one to tell you, because that is coming up real soon. And I want to hear what you think. Like I said, I was surprised that so many people online were not on board with this, because I was like, yeah, this is great. It totally aligns with what I've already been doing. Or are you a little bit miffed that the cupless races are going to be a thing? Or maybe you're like, I am never racing again. If there are no cups at those aid stations, count me out. I'm not doing it. And of course, if you are training for a race this season, but need some help getting ready, maybe your fueling strategy needs some work. You don't know if you're fueling well, if you are unsure of how to hydrate or even create a plan around fueling and hydration. I have actually recently launched a brand new 8-week nutrition program for runners. So this program is called the Fueled Runner. And it's an 8-week program where I have broken down my step-by-step strategy to helping you create a nutrition plan for yourself. And the great thing about this 8-week program is that it isn't helping you just create a nutrition plan for like this current 8 weeks that you're in, right? It's not just about the current training cycle you're in. It's not just about getting ready for the race that you're about to run. This program in these 8 weeks, you are going to understand how to fuel for all seasons and cycles of training that you find yourself in. So if you're currently in a training cycle, we're going to cover that. We cover that in the program. What to eat before you run, what to eat after you run, fueling, hydration for during your runs and races, all of the things. If you are currently in your off season, if you've already run your race this year, maybe you did a Disney run, maybe you did Tokyo, something like that. Maybe your race has already passed. And so you are in your off season or you're still in your base building season for a fall marathon. We also cover specific strategies for optimizing your fueling for the off season and for base building so that you know whatever season you're in and how you transition from season to season. How do I eat? How do I adapt my nutrition to get the best results regardless of where I'm at? We cover how to improve body composition without sacrificing performance. We also cover how to get confident with your mindset, your relationship with food, and how to go into making these day-to-day decisions around eating much more seamless with a lot less of the guesswork and not having to question every single thing you put in your mouth. So like I said, this is a brand new program. I have just recently launched it. I am super excited to start welcoming runners into this program. And you can find the details and register at the link in the show notes. We also, as I forgot to mention, we're also going to be having live group coaching calls. So if you have more questions, you're not just left on your own. Like this isn't a total kind of self-paced, do-it-yourself sort of program. I am here to support you. I am here to answer questions. We will be meeting live on Zoom for you to be able to get feedback, ask questions. You'll also be able to get email support from me. So this isn't the same as just like, buying a book or doing some kind of online self-paced course. I really want you to feel like you're supported and have all of the answers that you need going forward. So again, you can find that at the link in my show notes, and I would love to work with you inside the Fueled Runner program. All right. So that is it for today's episode. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found it helpful. And again, I would love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, your comments about how you feel about races going disposable cup free. You can find me over on Instagram at Steph the Runner's Dietitian. Bye for now. On this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not to be used or relied upon for the diagnosis or treatment of any health condition. This information does not create a client-practitioner relationship and should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice.